Yeah, good evening, guys. Can you hear me? So in the last session, we started importance of volumes, right? And we already created a basic volume structure. So let us try to deeply dive into the volumes concept. So here, as we discussed very clearly, volumes are ephemeral, right? Ephemeral in the sense, once you start the container, once you stop it, it automatically destroy the containers, sorry, destroy the data, right? So persistent, we need a persistent data. So that movement, so data should be attached at the host level, right? So this is called a Docker host. This is called a container, right? The container. So you need to attach this container data to the host machine so that either you can share it, either you can copy from the host to the Docker host and the Docker host to the container. So at the Docker host, there are two ways, not two ways, there are three ways are there to maintain your data persistently manner. It means to store your data persistent means to maintain the persistent state as a data for your container at the Docker host. Either you can keep your Docker data at the local site, local host, or you can attach your container data at the EBS, Elastic Block Storage, or you can attach the data to the network drive using EFS actually. Got it. So host data can be maintained at the volumes level as in the form of block level as well as so EFS. So EBS and EFS are the two storage services in the cloud. Storage service in the cloud. So here EBS stands for Elastic Block Store. Elastic Block Store. And second one is EFS stands for Elastic File System. Elastic File System. So when your container is running, to protect or not protect, to maintain the host data safely in a more persistent manner, there is either we can keep it in the local. First, let us try to dive practically how to store your data from the container to the host level, local level. Then we'll introduce, there is a elastic block storage, there is a storage services in the cloud, and there is a EFS, Elastic File System, right? EFS. These are the two services you have to know it. Of course, in generally, you may not use that S3. So for the container environment, so simple storage service, simple storage service. You need to understand some implications. You need to understand some constraints about what happens if I store my container data into the S3. So that's why, especially the Elastic Block Store and Elastic File System is good choice to maintain your container data at the cloud storage, right? The cloud storage. That's why host level storage, as well as you can store at the cloud level, actually, the cloud storage, right? Okay, so first of all, let us go and looking at how this local um, storage we can maintain it. So to maintain the the storage at the local site, you can use either -v option at the run command using Docker run. Yesterday we discussed in two ways we can mount your data. One is first you create the volume, then you attach the volume to the container. The second one is through a runtime, through run command, you can also mount your data to the host machine, right? Okay, so first you let us go and launch the EC2 instance and let us try to talk about the local side. Then this is one of the important services like Elastic Block Storage. Got it. So to associate this Elastic block storage data to the container, we'll discuss something about Elastic Block Storage, how to create our own blocks. So don't confuse. Very simple, right? We are storing container data as a backup, actually. All right, let's go. Go to the EC2 instance. So quickly launch the EC2 instance. So Docker volume. So take the image on and EC2 instance type and keep it login. Then RSA, create a key pair. Then try to use existing. So this is the last one is very essential to the uh, volume side. What is this? Configure storage. This is called default volumes, EVS volumes. And this is not encrypted actually. So that's why we have beautiful implementation is there at the cloud level as well as a container level. So that I will discuss the elastic block storage as well as I think so. Next week we are going to complete the services, almost the 13, 14 web services we will complete it. So that 70% of the cloud portion also will be killed so that we can confidently go ahead for the dead end. So why? Because we are not intentionally deriving the EBS. So as we know, every day we are launching the EC2 instance. Instance has its own disk. Disk is most important to store our data. Obviously, in microservice world and cloud native level, you need to maintain the data. So data at the container level, container or at the cluster level. So always remember it. By default, when you launch the EC2 instance, your block devices are not encrypted. That is your responsibility to store your data in a more secure way, right? So why I'm stressing is here we need to understand one more services is called KMS, Key Management Services, right? Now go and launch instance. Just give a second. Right. view all instances. So do you understand this? So you can keep it in local or cloud storage, right? So this is okay. Let's go to EC2 instance and connect SSH client copy, downloads, CMD. Yes. So login as so the systemctl docker systemctl install docker. Somewhere my mind is somewhere. Install -y docker. So here, so last day, did I explain the copy command? Okay. Okay. Guys, listen carefully. Anyhow, our our concept is binding with the data. So data handling is the crucial topic in the container world. But suppose assume it, I don't have a volume idea. So they are asking like this, right? I don't have volume concept. I mean, by default, our volumes are saved in the form of var lib docker volumes. Of course, you are going to speak about the Docker host. You are mapping, you are connecting, right? Yesterday we have seen, right? No? Yesterday what we discussed? Okay. Just like we create the volumes and we just watch the basic level stuff, right? Okay. So let us go and focus here. Sudo systemctl status docker. Okay, docker is inactive. Let us start. Multiple times I said, till end of the course, I will say, because Kubernetes also revolve around its container. When you start the container, docker.socket will be created. When the docker.socket will be created, daemon is going to evoke. When the daemon is evoke, runtime environment will be initialized. When the runtime environment is initialized, kernel is going to supply the namespaces. When the namespaces are applied, the whole virtual container layers are formed inside the daemons. Then daemon is going to handle the Docker objects. If someone asks this question about Docker objects, don't confuse. Images, containers, volumes, networks, security, blah, 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 blah. Okay, got it. So don't confuse unnecessarily, right? So what is your concept is, sir, you are telling that containers are ephemeral. I need, we need to store the data in persistent manner. But I install the Docker in the host machine. When you install the Docker on the host machine, it becomes like a Docker host, which is a local, right? If it is a local, already we are inherited, we are grown up by understanding the Linux concept. Sir, create some folder structure inside the local host machine. And why can't you copy the data from our local host machine to the container? Got it, got it. I have a data simply where you are running where you are running the Docker. So our current machine, it just becomes like a Docker host. So according to the Docker host, it's a machine in the sense file system. You create your own folder and create and maintain a file, then try to copy from here to there to here. So try to understand what is the advantages and disadvantages. So here, copying, please first you note it down. Copying data to and from containers. Guys, understand this approach. Once you understand this approach, then we'll talk about the importance of the uh, volumes. Then we'll discuss about the local volumes and we'll discuss about the remote sharing volumes in the form of cloud storage, right? To and from, sorry. To and. Clear? Let us create one container, sudo docker run. I'm running the container in the detached mode, and I'm giving one of the container name is suppose test copy. So I'm just taking the one of the Ubuntu image. So Ubuntu with some like 14.04. Okay. Then I want to run this container continuously in the sleep mode. Suppose 500 seconds. So looking at, so just hit it. So it's unable to find the image Ubuntu at locally, pulling the image like okay. Now if you clear just sudo docker images. So right now my image is configured as Ubuntu. Now let me go inside the container without creating the new process, right? Without creating the new process, how can you go inside the container? Exec. Ex is a command actually. Remember it, that that exec command is very important. So how can you run it? Docker exec and in the interactive terminal, what is your container? Test copy. Okay, I'm going inside my shell bin bash, right? Right. I'm going inside the container. Now looking at, now I'm inside the container. Always remember it. So currently, who am I? Root. So, okay. So if I say host name is nothing but container ID. Okay. Now, right now, my present working directory is the root, like slash. I'm going to create one directory, for example, devops directory, cd devops. What's up? Hey, ls. Okay. So dev is there, right? Sorry, device file is always there, right? So cd devops. Now I'm going to create one empty file, cat, yeah, cat my file dot txt. This data, this is a data from the container host. Okay, control D. So right now I have a data right in the present working directory like a slash devops right. Now I'm inside the container. I'm going to control PQ. I come out of the container without killing. Even if you go and see the sudo docker ps, right? My container is up and it's running right. Now, I want to copy my data as a text file, like I have a myfile.txt. It is not in the Docker host, it is inside the. So, how to copy from the container host to the Docker host? So, there is a beautiful command called, please note it down, Docker copy myfile.txt. Looking at, I'm trying to copy a file, myfile.txt, in the devops directory of the root from the container. Remember it. Please carefully looking at this syntax, guys. A beginner will confuse. Test copy is my container. Colon is nothing but you are pointing to the exact location of your file where exactly stored. And I'm copying from the container to my host machine. I'm giving like a dot. Dot in the sense present working directory, like current working directory. Now, if I hit it, see successfully copied data to the home EC2 directory. Like if I say ls, see cat myfile.txt, isn't it? Where is our data? In both cases, right? In both cases, right? Suppose if I stop the container, suppose try it. So that's okay. We already copied the container data to the host machine. That's okay. Uh, but I said, right, it's ephemeral. Containers are may up and down at any time. If it is a down, automatically my container lose the data. How can you confirm it? For example, sudo docker ps. Right now, my container is up. Looking at sudo docker stop. Before stop it, looking at before stop it, let us copy the host data to container. Previously, we copy the container to host machine. Let us talk about reverse, right? For this, I do one thing. Echo, this is a host data for the container. I'm just writing one small text file into the host file .txt, right? Looking at. Now, right now, my file.txt is a came from the container side. Now I want to move my container, move my data from the host to the inside the container. Then I do one thing. How can I do this? Sudo docker copy. What we're going to copy? Host file, right? Am I right? The host file.txt to where my container is test copy, right? Source is right now the source is host machine. Confused? We are copying host file, right? So earlier we are mapping from the container to source is a container, target is host machine. No, అవును see source ఎక్కడుంది? Source is what, man? Hostfile.txt only, right? Docker copy host file to where to send container. But inside the container, I have a slash directory, right? So inside the devops directory, right? See, successfully copied to test copy devops. So right now, when you are copying from the container to host, container is the source. When you are copying from host to container, host is the source. And now go inside the container, looking at, see, this is. Now go and check for DevOps directory. See, my host file text will be copied. So Now, here question is come into the picture. If it is Docker copy command is available, then why should I use the volumes? That's why this is a bad practice. Every time I have to copy. This is very dangerous. But when you map container to the host, whenever container is keep on updating with the application data, every time it is automatically pump the container data to host. This is a explicitly as a user, as a DevOps engineer, we have to manually copy every time. Got it. But containers is continuously built by the developer, continuously test by the tester. In between, n number of iterations happen. For every time, our container is going to change it. For every time, data is going to be produced. So every time storing the data manual is a more cumbersome job. It's a very boring process, and manual it's very tedious. If it is a one container, okay. If thousands of containers are there, so how can you manually copy from host to the container host to the host machine? That's why it is a practically not work out. That's the reason they introduced the concept called mounting. Somewhere you have to link up, right? So that it's will work. Suppose control PQ. Anyhow, there is a one new command we discuss. What is that? Docker CP. Okay, but now let us go sudo. There is no move. There is no Docker MV. But explicitly we do move it. So permanently, once you go inside the container, once container to container is integrated with the networking, then as usual, we can perform the move commands, right? So there is no, hey, what's going on? So sudo docker ps sudo, okay. I think so 500 seconds, right? It's going to be sudo docker ps minus a. So right now it is exited. Now I do one thing. I'm giving like 1000. I'm going to create one more new container called as a test copy one. Okay. Now inside the copy one R. So let us try to start test copy. Sudo docker ps. Now see my container is upright. Now it is upright. Then if I go inside it, cd, still my container is there. Okay, but I said like if I say exit, if I say sudo docker ps, still my container is running. I do one thing. Let us go and stop my container. Okay. Now if you go, clear the screen, docker sudo docker ps. So ps minus a, it is exited, right? Now I have to restart. Now go inside the containers quickly. Now cd slash devops. Still data is there. Then I do one thing, exit. So then I do one thing, sudo docker kill test copy. Now sudo docker ps minus a. So now I do one thing. Again, I'm trying to start. So once I kill it again, I start the container, right? Sudo docker ps. Okay. Then go inside the container, right? cd slash devops. The container is available. But what I said, ephemeral. When I stop the container, every time the container data is not, then what online and offline? Now I do one thing. Rm minus rf off. I remove my host data, right? Now I go inside the container again. So still it data is there, right? So now if I say cat myfile.txt, okay, good. So we copied. Hmm. Now do one thing, exit sudo docker ps. So now the test copy is running and test copy one is running. Now my question is, what is the meaning of creating the container when the container data is persistently maintained by the cp command at the host machine and docker machine? So every time if I try to go, I already clean it, right? I already remove it, right? For example, rm minus, this manually deleting is it's not a good practice. Okay, so this data should automatically delete. This data should automatically delete. Sudo docker ps. Now the 5 minutes test copy. Sudo docker rm. If I say remove, in the sense it's going gone. So test copy. See what it says that? Arey Babu, I cannot remove it. First, your container is running. Sudo docker stop test copy. So I stopped it. Go and kill again. So what is this? Cannot kill the container because it is already in stopped state. It's not running, right? Okay. Now if I say sudo docker ps minus a, now sudo docker inspect of support test copy. So now where is our data? So we set the path. Where is your data? Guys, have you observed it? Where is the data? Even where is the mount point? For example, slash, looking at, suppose data, working directory. Right now, we don't have any data inside the, where it is. That's what I'm saying. Data is not there. But if you go inside the container, sudo docker ps, so sudo docker ps minus a. Now go inside the start. Now go inside the container. So why it is not? Think practically. Answer to my question. Not now. So please note it down. How to prove, how to prove containers are ephemeral. How to prove container data is ephemeral, right? Ephemeral. It means any data you return inside the container, it automatically, whenever you stop it, it's going to be remove it. Whenever it's going to crash it, it's going to remove it. Think, I'll give that 10 seconds. Not, don't take too much. We'll go for further topic. So what does it mean by ephemeral? One of the top interview question. That's the reason please note it down. Why container data is ephemeral. So ephemeral, very simple. First of all, stateless. It is a stateless and also temporary, and it's going to be portable and also going to be replaceable, right? So when container is restarted or recreated, the file system is going to start with a fresh. Okay. So let us go and guys, looking at. So this is you're not understanding, right? Mate, you may get confused here, according to my understanding. Suppose control PQ, sudo docker ps. So I do one thing. Let's create one more fresh container. Looking at sudo docker run -it ubuntu same, and double hyphen name is my new container. Okay, of the bash. That's okay. Okay. Now create one file. So touch hello.txt, right? Right? TXT file is there, right? Hmm? Now I'm trying to exit. I'm going exit actually. So now sudo docker ps. So it is exit, right? What is our container name? So because it is exited, I given an exit inside it, not control PQ, right? Not control PQ. Every time press the control PQ. What happens control PQ? What happens control PQ? It never stop the container. I'm not stopping the container. Even though looking at, if you see sudo docker ps minus a. Now see my new container is an existed, right? Okay. Next I do one thing. So sudo, okay, now do one thing, sudo docker. Let me remove the container. My new container, right? Spelling, okay. Okay. I'm remove the container, right? Do one thing. Same, I'm trying to create the new container, right? Sudo, so docker run hyphen it like double hyphen name my new container 2 of bin bash. I forgot to give same same image. I'm not creating the new images, but multiple containers, right? If I go see an ls, where is that file? Tricky, remember it. I'm not creating the new image, the same image, but what I did, so what I did, so earlier I create the new container. See, sudo docker ps minus a, I'm sorry, control pq, docker ps minus a. Now here my new container is up. Okay, but I terminated the new container, existing first new container. Got it. So I exit, I use a word called exit in the sense container intentionally I stopped it and I terminated, right? Now again I'm going to create the container. So even see, suppose remove this, right? It automatically creates a new container. Okay, suppose touch slash uh, hello.txt, right? Right? Now see, I'm giving exit. So if I see exit, what happens? Sudo docker ps minus a. So just 5 seconds ago, this container is right. Now I do one thing. If you have some idea, logical idea, copy this, start and paste. Now go sudo docker ps. Now the container is upright. How you go inside the container? I have to go inside the container. Sudo docker exec hyphen it, your container ID, isn't it? Then image, right? Ubuntu, right? What says that? Okay, sorry. Container, we are going inside the container, right? I'm sorry. See, container is up. But when I say exit and remove the container, then data is going to be lost. Now, common question you may get mindset. Sir, remove, automatically remove it, right? Then again, why you're talking about that? But you are creating the same container, multiple containers from the image. If I create the new image, that is different. But from the same image, I'm creating the multiple containers. Whenever I remove it, container is gone. Data is going to gone. So container is gone, as well as data is going to gone. That is called as a basic point. You have to remember it. Suppose, guys, I need a review on this. I need it. Please note down. So this is a proof I said, right? So you think about practically, okay? So now you may guess one question: where data goes? It's a where data is going to go? Hmm? Delete, right? So it means temporarily deleted, or it is not shared, or maybe lost when your content is removed. Yes, when my content is removed, my data is going lost. Now, what is the key question? I have to persist my data. I have to persist my data. That's why now question is how to how to persist persist data in the container. In the sense, I'm going to talk about ephemeral, right? So when my container is lost, my data is going to lost. But I want to write. That's why the two things are there, guys. The first concept is Docker volumes. Docker volumes. The second one is very important point. Please note it down. Bind mounts. Bind mounts. Now, the third technique is external storage. Just 1 hour back, I discussed with you. Now I'm trying to give elastic block storage, elastic file system, even S3 too. S3 to write. Now to prove this practically, now I'm going to prove the things practically. So let us go inside the volumes first. Create a volume first. Sudo docker volume create my data, right? Right. Sudo docker volume ls. By default, local driver and my data is there. Now go and run the container. So I want to go, the second step is what? I want to run the container with a volume. So sudo docker the run -it interactive terminal, you know that? See, -v I'm using. Volume, -v, right? So now what is your volume? My data. Just recollect the Docker copy command we discuss. Okay. My data is a what? Volume. Where to go? Under slash root directory, I have a data. And my image is suppose Ubuntu. Now I'm giving like a bin bash, right? Oh, looking at now I'm going inside the containers, right? Then I'm going to create one small file echo. Welcome to Docker volume. Okay. This data I'm going to write to where under root there is a data, under data I'm going to write as a some file.txt, right? Okay. ls data, right? So okay, now I do one thing. Let us go and exit, right? I'm exit, right? Now I'm trying to run the another container with the same volume. Now go and how to write? Sudo docker run -it interactive terminal -v. So what is that? My data wherever directory under root there is a data folder, right? Looking at, I'm creating one more container. Previous container having only data. Now according to the concept is when you define the volumes, multiple volumes can share automatically, right? That is my proving thing. So your volume is my data and your attached data is inside the root directory of data. Now, what is image? Ubuntu /bin/bash. Is a new container or old container? I run it, guys. Is a new container or old container? This is a new or old? New. If you are waiting in a sense, obviously people are never respond. This is see. Whenever I run multiple times, run is nothing but look for the Ubuntu image, and it will automatically create the container. The container is going to set the volume to the data. So set the volume, the root volume, right? So root volume in the sense here, my data is newly created volume. Whenever you create the new volume, mount point is this one. Okay, now if I say ls, see, cd data. So now I'm even if you go and press Control PQ, I'm not exit. Now you should get more than one container, right? See, even if you go sudo docker inspect of latest volume, copy this. See, in the mount point. Earlier it is a empty. Now I using myfun v, I set the volume, right? Source is coming from where lib docker volumes. That's why this is not the container. This data is inside the host machine. Even looking at clear the screen, sudo su-hyphen cd slash where slash lib docker cd volume under volume cd. Looking at my data is a what? Volume, right? See? Now, what is my present working directory? Where lib. This is a host data. That is called. Even now, magic is, see, go cat and file.txt. Some data is there, right? Go back to the current working directory, sudo docker ps. All right. Now, let us recollect the one more time, create one more container. Exit. Okay. Again, I'm creating another container. Now I'm inside it, right? cd slash data. Right. Now I do one thing, cat greater than. What I'm doing? Appending some data, right? So cat greater than what the file name? File.txt. Now this is my new line. Going to add for testing purpose. Now where are you now? You are in the inside the container, right? Now again I'm going to create one multiple empty files. Suppose F1 of suppose 20 empty files I created, right? So 20 empty files as well as a new data will be added. Hmm? Got it. I'm pressing Control PQ. Sorry, PQ. I'm not removing the container. Sudo docker ps. Now third container is created. Okay. అంతే కదండి ఏం కొత్త ఓకే నా let us go sudo su hyphen cd var slash lib cd volumes. See metadata my data. What's happened? Automatically coming. Whenever you update something inside the container, automatically container data is coming to the host machine because of mount. We hang it. If it is not there, copy command, every time I have to copy. Manual, I have to copy it. Now it's a headache process, right? This is the practically proven that because of bound points, like mount points, we said it, the container automatically send the data to the host machine because we use -v, right? Clear? That is the differences between a Docker CP and a mount Docker volume, right? Okay. Mm. Just note that command. -v. See, our concentration is on the container, right? Because application is running inside containers only. So containers keep on producing the data, right? So your focus should not be host. Your focus should be containers. So that's why, that's the reason when I remove the container, my data is going to be lost. But now, earlier, whenever till I get this program for you, you can't understand. Maybe you maybe think that remove, sir already removed it. So it's going to be gone. Now you may thought that it is a quite common. What is the speciality inside that? But same thing, if I recreate the multiple content from the same image, data is automatically reflecting, right? That's why ephemeral in the sense, when you remove the container, when the remove is crashed, your data is going to be permanently remove it. That is the concept. You have to hold it, right? That's the reason they are going to be mount points. That's why we have to welcome the next uh, technique called as a volumes, EBS volumes. That's why the next week, so I will introduce the EBS, EFS with the cloud volumes, the cloud storage with the Docker container. Okay. Then we'll monitor the disk through CloudWatch. Okay. With the SNS integration. And we'll add some disk and CPU metrics whenever my containers or whenever my disk is reached to the 90%, automatically I have to get the alerts. Once it is done, then we'll integrate the Docker volumes with the EBS. Okay, once the EBS and the Docker EFS with the Docker volumes with the EFS, right? So that uh, the two concepts will be clear out. Then finally, Docker network plus volume combination with Docker compose. Because where you started, compose. Because inside the compose, networking and volume is the part. So that's the reason we go back and we understood the importance of the volumes and we decided what is the ephemeral and what is not ephemeral. Local we discussed, and the rest of the part still there is a bind mount points are there. We'll discuss. But after that, this is. Then once you finish it off, next we are going to integrate with the biggest pipeline, GitHub plus code build, code deploy, and code pipeline, and auto scaling, and elastic load balancers, auto scaling and load balancers with the ECR and ECS. After this, even in this one, you will get a lot of services are integrated. Like we are going to integrate with IAM, so that maximum uh, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 services will be gone. And in the next week, we are going to start the Kubernetes. No delays, right? So that is the plan. And tomorrow morning, 9 to 11:30 or 12 o'clock, because tomorrow we'll see, because the climate is too, we'll see based on that. Okay? Clear, guys? So that's it. So catch you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We are going to deal the elastic network interface, then security group, then touch about the placement group, then we'll talk about the NAT gateway private subnet. So that we'll decide the public subnet and the private subnet, and we'll integrate how the public subnet and private subnet is going to communicate via NAT gateways. If the situation is still support, we'll go with a peering connection. The peering connection will stop it. So that IAM, then VPC. In the next week, you have EBS and EFS, and even CloudWatch, SNS, KMS, code commit, code build, code deploy, code pipeline, and auto scaling, load balancers, ECS, ECR. So almost, yes, for 15 services. So that, and we'll strongly start the Kubernetes. And then once you go to the Kubernetes, again we come back, we have EKS and even other services are there. Once you complete the Kubernetes, we'll invite the Terraform. And we have to we have to discuss another two top tools are there. One is Jenkins and finally Ansible. So that we'll try to close it up. We'll need to speed up in the next week at any cost. Okay. See you then.